Hi, and welcome back to Dog Speak. Today we have the wonderful Samantha Wayland, who's going to be here talking to us about rescues from abroad, the Cypriot rescue and the Romanian rescue is what we're going to talk about today. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask Samantha to introduce herself, and then we shall kick off. Samantha, over to you, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. A little bit nervous, but I am delighted to be here. So I have been a certified dog trainer and I run Samantha Wayland Dog Training. I've been certified only probably about 10 months via DTC, but I've been working with rescue dogs for probably about a decade now. I started off fostering Romanian rescues, Spanish rescues, Cypriot rescues, and my love just grew. I've always had a love of dogs. In fact, one of my first memories back in the 1980s in Northern Ireland, living in a high-rise flat, there was a guy that lived a couple of doors away from me called Pat. He was called Pat the Cat, and I think that was a football reference, but I was a bit young at the time to get it. But he had a lot of cats that he would take in and a lot of dogs that he would take in, all the strays. And I thought he was amazing. I walked around for years saying, I want to be like Pat the Cat. That is the person I want to be. Looking back, I think he was probably a hoarder, but because he was taking them in and he was trying his best, I was like, that's amazing. That's what I want to do. And that's where my love of dogs started from. So when I had my youngest son, we started fostering. And we were quite lucky. Our first fosters really lulled us into a false sense of security. They arrived and they were absolutely fine. And then they just got harder and harder. We got given the more difficult ones because we were experienced. And then I realized how much I didn't know. There's a lot of things that I was kind of doing naturally, but I didn't know why I was doing it. And yeah, that's where my love started. And then I started doing small courses here, there, and everywhere. And then I was like, right, I really need to focus in. So I was doing dog walking for the last 5 years. And that gave me the chance to work with a lot of different breeds, a lot of different dogs, and sort of focus on their body language. And then I just wanted to take it a bit further because I saw so many dogs with huge traumas. And I just wanted to do more and learn more. And here we are today I've fostered probably over 50, maybe 60 dogs personally, myself and my husband. And now I have a very successful dog training business. So yeah, it's going good.
Wow. Fantastic background leading up to you become a certified dog trainer. And I have to say, anyone watching this, Samantha Wayland is absolutely brilliant and fantastic, a fantastic dog trainer, and her knowledge is fantastic too about the topic we're going to talk about now. So, Samantha, I mean, when I hear the word rescue, one of
Mhm.
the first things that come into my mind is rescues abroad.
Yeah,
It's very rare that I think of Battersea or Wood Green Animal Shelter.
yeah,
But I think a lot of that's to do mainly as well from COVID, where obviously
yeah, there
come
was a
from here.
lot. Yeah.
What made you go that route and not Battersea route or something similar?
Um, I'll be completely honest. When I started fostering, the bigger rescues based in the UK, like Dogs Trust, wouldn't allow me to foster because we had young children at the time. And looking back, I completely understand why they did that. And then a friend of mine had an overseas rescue dog, and I was like, oh my goodness, they're beautiful. Asked a little bit more, and then started fostering from there. And I think once my name got out there, one rescue would tell another rescue, oh, Samantha's very good at taking on the hard ones. And it kind of snowballed from there. So, yeah, that was why I initially got into it. And I think that's probably why a lot of people do adopt from overseas, because not that the rules are more slack,
Mhm.
but you are more likely to, as a family, to get an overseas rescue dog. Whether I agree completely with that or not is another thing, but I do understand why people do it.
you've just hit the nail on the head. It's a lot easier
Yeah.
than saying apply to Dogs Trust. And so I too, once upon a time, was really, really against it.
Mm.
When COVID kicked in, I totally understood it because I had more time in COVID because I
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere to sort of get my head around it. So once you, I mean, how did you get to, because you go away a lot, you go abroad a lot
Yeah.
to different places. Why did you stick with those two breeds? Why not Spanish rescues or
Um,
Hungarian?
the Romanians, the Romanian rescues just really, there's just something about them that just really gets my heart, the trauma that they've been through. I think seeing a lot of the dogs that come over when it's a 3-4 day journey. So on a bus, they don't get off the bus at all. They go through the tunnel. They could get off in a strange country, in a strange weather, strange people, and a majority of them are in absolute state when they get off. And I think just seeing and being able to help those dogs that were so shut down and so traumatized, and then just watching them start to trust again, it just really, I don't know whether it was almost like I could see sort of some of my childhood traumas in these dogs. And I was just like, oh, I can really see and feel the similarities, like psychologically, between how I would deal with things and how they would deal with things. And I just felt this connection to them. The dogs from Cyprus are a little bit, they're slightly different. They don't seem to be overall as shut down as the Romanians. There's quite a difference between them. And I think that as well, that seeing the differences really spoke to me because I was like, it really fascinated, really got my brain going, seeing the differences between the two. Yeah, so I think that's why I focused so much on them, and I've adopted two Romanian rescues who you may hear in the background at some point if a delivery arrives.
Not if you hear my Rottweiler first. Um, okay, so we know that when rescues come from abroad, they do come with trauma.
Yeah,
Some far more traumatic than others,
yeah.
and then they arrive at hopefully, their forever homes.
Hmm.
How do you help clients, A, that have never had a dog before or
Hmm.
have had very little experience about dogs? How do you help them to help their dogs settle in?
Um, so the way I do it is it's very difficult because some of the rescues that are out there, the rescue organizations, I mean, are fantastic. They offer great advice. But there are a lot of smaller rescues who mean well and they want to do the best they can, but they just don't have the time or the knowledge sometimes to sort of to pass on to their fosterers or their adopters. And these dogs just sort of arrive and that's it. That's the last they've heard from. So what I do is I work with two rescues, one from Cyprus and one from Romania at the moment, and I volunteer free sessions for the dogs for the new adopters before the dog arrives to sort of lower their expectations of I know you've got this thought of this dog that's going to arrive and you're going to go on walks together and you're going to go to the pub and the cafe, but let's lower that down. That might happen in the future. It's very unlikely to happen anytime in the near future. And I try and just get them to understand that it's just going to take a lot of time and a lot of patience. And the more you rush, the longer it's going to take. It's just, especially with Romanian rescues, it's all about time, time, and patience. That's it. That's all you need at the beginning is that. So yeah, it's just getting them to lower their expectations a little bit.
Time is very important because we're talking about expectations
Mm.
and the difference between hopping along, making an appointment to go along across to Dogs Trust and walk along and look at all the dog
Hmm.
feel of those dogs there, maybe even be able to touch them, those that are touchable, and go for a little walk, as opposed to looking a dog online, looking at a dog online, registering your interest.
Yeah.
And you said, is it 2 to 3 months travel? Yeah. And then the dog arrives
Yeah.
at midnight.
Yeah. It is usually the middle of the night in a storm.
Yeah. And the person had all those expectations, like you had just mentioned, the Catholic
Mm,
couple, what have you. They're now confronted, when the dog is confronted with a different human,
yeah.
and this dog now is really traumatized.
Yeah.
How do we help those? That moment the dog arrives, how does that work?
So, what I always suggest to people is just have a safe area for them, whether that's a crate, a den, an area that is not going to be walked past all the time, an area that people are not going to go into, your kids aren't going to go near, your other dogs are not going to go near, and just let your dog come in and just leave them alone just for a little bit, because it is a lot. And usually what happens as well is people see these dogs online, they might see a couple of videos, but usually, by the time the dog has arrived, the dog's probably about twice the size, because they usually see the videos of a puppy. And then this huge, Maioritic shepherd jumps off the bus and they're like, whoa, what is this? And it's, there's, you get a lot of people, this is a lot different of the dog that I thought was going to arrive. They get off, they're smelly, they've been sitting in their own wee and poop for days on end. They're hungry. They're terrified of the people who've put them on the bus, and there's so much going on. So it is literally just get them in the house and just leave them alone. They will come to you. Some will come to you immediately. Some will come straight up and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I love you," and some will take months. And it is just about just leaving them and letting them go at their pace. So the biggest thing that I say, apart from time, is just letting them consent to everything. I find, especially with Romanians and Cypriot dogs, the more agency you give them, the more that you're allowing them to make small decisions, or they can come over to you if they want, and the second they don't want to, they're allowed to walk away. It just really, really boosts their confidence. And some things seem so minor, like just leave your dog alone, just feed them, just that's it. That just makes all the difference to these dogs. Some of them have never even set foot inside a house before, let alone a house in the UK with central heating and, noisy cars outside. They've got no idea what's going on. So it is just about really, and noticing all the little achievements. I was able to turn the TV on today and the dog wasn't scared. They walked past a window today and didn't bark at their reflection. So all those little things are huge, to the dogs. It's just that we think they're little because they're things that we do every day. But these are massive things for those dogs that, possibly grown up in the mountains and never been inside a house.
Yeah, you know, like I just said, we got some dogs that are far more traumatized than others.
Yeah.
I want to stick with the really traumatized for the moment because how do the people you work with, let's say a couple or a person on their own, I think they're more likely to succeed a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
But when we got a family, we've got children, and you also mentioned make sure the other dogs are not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they cope? A family this dog is traumatized. It's shaking. As one of my clients told me a few weeks ago, dog arrived, it was just shivering,
Mm,
and it took them about half an hour to get them over the door threshold.
yeah.
Yeah, because I can't remember if he didn't know how to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to ask her, how did you cope with that? What advice would you give?
Thresholds are a huge thing, especially for Romanian dogs, because they are terrified of going in through any small spaces, aren't they? Um, it is really difficult, and you do need to try and get everyone on the same page. I'm quite lucky that I've obviously had gone through it with my own children, so I've taught them. My youngest son, actually, he does have a couple of videos, bless him, where he tries to tell other children how to be with dogs, because he loves it, absolutely loves it, and he helped me put together. We've got a little it's just a little package with some colouring in things and body language, and it's just trying to get the kids involved. Because I think when you explain to kids, even really, really young kids, 3 and 4, when you talk to them and explain things to them, they want to help, and they want to help make that dog feel, happier and more confident. And it is hard getting them on the same page. A lot of the time, I do recommend that the houses are sort of divided up if possible, so that that dog can have space and can get in and out of the back garden on a lead if needed. A lot of dogs come over and you can see that the first thing they are doing is looking for an escape route. They are looking for a way out. They're looking at every window, every door. If you get them outside on a lead, they're looking around. They're watching where they, can I climb that to get out? And that's one of the big things as well that I try to focus on, is just keep them on a lead in the garden, just for safety, because if they go over that fence, you're not going to get them back anytime soon because you have no bond. So the first 2 to 3 weeks is all about bond building. No matter how confident you think that dog is, build your bond before you try to take them out for a walk. A lot of people, if the dog gets off the bus, they want to go for a walk straight away. And another thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that legally, they're not allowed to take the dog for a walk for 48 hours. So, yeah, so DEFRA rules are 48 hours, the dog has to be in the property that is on the certificate that they came over with. And if DEFRA arrived to do a check and your dog was not there, you could end up with a huge fine. So legally, they're not allowed to leave the premises, and the premises includes the garden. And I think even little things like that, a lot of people just aren't aware of, which is, it's worrying sometimes.
But that's why we have wonderful people like yourself to come on board on Dog Speak podcast and share those bits of information that some of us trainers or behaviourists are not aware of.
Yeah.
And other dog owners, some might not.
Yeah.
So that piece of information you have just given there is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. I don't want to hold my hands up. I was not aware of it.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I think because I worked, I was a trustee for a while in a Romanian rescue. So obviously, because I was dealing with that side of it, I knew that kind of thing. But in the dog training side of in that world, it's not really mentioned, which is worrying. A lot of the smaller rescues, I don't even think they know themselves, let alone pass it on. Which I saw a post in the summertime when the football was on. Someone picked his dog up from the services and went straight to the pub to watch the football. I was like, oh my goodness. I was just like, oh, my head's going to explode. Take the dog home. Yeah, it's worrying.
I think that is where I have always said that we humans, we take dogs for granted.
Yes.
We treat them as property. Yet we were upset when the law treated them as property.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I can't get my head around that one. Yeah, dogs are not property. For me, they are dog beings. Yeah. But we are human beings. And I would never dream of taking my dog to a cafe or a pub. Because I think even though they are confident, I can't account for the people that might be in there.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's the problem. Okay, so when we have the owners that they're glad their dog has arrived, their dog may not be as traumatized as some, and it's working that out.
Yeah,
really, really happy, and they turn to the phone and say, "Take you for a walk." And I know you just touched on that. Yeah. But can you just elaborate a little bit more why that should be a no-no?
So what I always tell my clients is, no matter what your dog is like when they get off that bus, just take time, like I said earlier, to build that bond. So little exercises like just getting your dog to learn their name, knowing who you are, all that sort of stuff to begin with before you do anything else. You need to be, there he goes, delivery at the door.
That's fine.
You know what? I knew there'd be a delivery as soon as I sat down. I was like, I guarantee this is when it comes. He will stop in a second. Good old Romanians.
Mm.
So you need to build that bond so that when you're out, your dog knows that no matter what, you are the safe space. You're the person that they can turn to if anything goes wrong, if another dog runs over or there's a loud bang or the weather is different than what they're used to, they feel safe with you. If your dog doesn't feel safe and doesn't have that bond with you, it could be as simple as somebody cycling down the street in the rain, and that's enough. That dog's going to spook, that dog's going to run, and then that dog's going to go to ground because that's what they know. Can I go and just tell him he's okay?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
Give me 1 second. Okay, it's okay. I know. So sorry.
Do not be sorry. We
There
are
were two,
dog
two
lovers.
postmen outside. Typically,
We
couldn't
love
have
dog
come at a
lovers.
better time.
We are dog lovers. We are dog owners. These things happen. Yeah. I don't have an issue with it. And the beautiful thing is, it's natural.
Yeah, it is, and that's Bodie, he's a forever foster dog. So he had approximately 20 homes before he came to me. So he had, and that was in the UK. So he had a lot of trauma. So although that is a big reaction, it's a lot better than the reactions we got a year ago when he first came. So he is getting better.
Well, Bailey was just letting you know there is a change in the environment.
Exactly. Exactly that. He's like, there's someone at the door, quick, there's a stranger.
So he's just there doing his meant to do.
Exactly.
So we were talking about the no-no of taking dogs for a walk.
Yes.
And explained what the death rule is.
Yeah.
And then Bodhi decided to join us. When dogs are taken out and dogs have escaped, yeah.
Yeah.
What advice do you give for those owners that we know they're going to do this regardless?
Yeah. It's very hard because if a dog that has lived on the streets escapes, they're especially a Romanian dog. So in Romania, they're not going to approach people. The chances of them seeing someone and running to them for help like a UK dog would are very, very slim. Unfortunately, there are a lot of amazing rescuers in Romania, but there are a lot of dog catchers and children who throw stones or people that would hurt dogs in Romania. So they're not going to run to a person. They're going to run to shelter, to a bush, to hide in undergrowth, and they will go to ground, and they know how to survive because they've done it before. And it is very difficult. Sometimes I think there was one recently that had gone missing for a good 6-7 months before it had even been found. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, once they do run off, it doesn't end well, and especially if it's near roads and things, because they've got no road sense at all, and it just doesn't end well at all. And another thing that I asked my clients to do is to double lead for a little while. Even once you've built that bond, or you think you've built that bond up, just to have that backup of another lead for a little while, just to try and reduce the chances of the dog spooking and bolting, because that is worst case scenario.
Yeah. And while you were just talking about that, something else that just came to mind is, all dogs are all different shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, yeah. But harnesses. What type of harness would you recommend so that they can't back out of?
Oh, gosh, it's really difficult because I know even with one of my own Romanians, she was terrified of a harness. She still is now. We've had her 3 years. A lot of overseas rescues really struggle with the harness going on. So even that process can take weeks, months, just to get them used to something being around them. There are some great ones out there. There's the perfect fit ones. Is it rabbit goo that has the extra? It has an extra two straps at the back, so it goes around the body a little bit more. And I don't think, in all honesty, there's any such thing as a harness that a dog cannot get out of, especially an overseas rescue. If they want to get out, they will get out of it. Which is why I like the double leading until they're confident, is just to have that extra, the chance of grabbing them before something goes wrong. So yeah, there's a few out there. All the wide front harnesses, all those type of ones are usually the best ones, not the popular ones that go straight across it that you can just lift your back legs or your front legs out of. Not those ones.
I think let's add a bit of controversy to this now, because a lot of clients that I work with all say they have been told religiously by the rescues they must use a slip lead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
It's probably a bit controversial as well. I do recommend my clients to use a slip lead as the backup. So what I recommend is they have a flat lead on a harness if the dog is okay with a harness, or on a collar if not, and then the slip lead as well. So the collar on first, and then the slip lead sort of slightly behind it. The slip lead is looser at all times than the other lead, and it is simply there as a backup. If they slip the rest, you've got that slip lead. Because is it aversive? Yes. But is it less aversive than running across the road and possibly being hit by a truck?
Yes.
No. So it's there as a backup. It's not there as a training tool. And I'm very, when I'm talking to clients about it, I'm very much, it's not to be tight, it's not to be pulled. It is just almost like an emergency brake of, if everything else fails, you've got that, because it's better than them running across the road. And so I do recommend slip leads for that. And also for when you get them off the transport. So when transport comes to your house, you hand them your slip lead. They don't have time to be doing collars and things, and a lot of the dogs won't put collars on. So they put a slip lead on, and you bring your dog in on the slip lead. And again, because it's better than carrying them and then wiggling out of your arms and running off. So I think slip leads, yes, they definitely have their place, but not as a training tool.
I totally am with you on that one. 100%. Safety is paramount.
Yeah.
And having a management plan in place is better than having no management plan in place. The dog escapes, gets hit by a car, and we're going to wish we used the slip lead.
Exactly that.
Prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
So the advice you give, you've confirmed that the advice I've been given is right. Carry on with what the rescue have told you, because they have told you that for a reason.
Yeah.
We also have to remember that although it has its place for now,
yes,
we mustn't be aversive with it.
No, absolutely not. It is just as a backup. It's not for anything else. That's it.
Okay, so we've got the Romanian rescue, we've got the Cypriot rescue.
Yeah.
How do they differ?
Sorry, say that again?
Sorry, how do they differ? What makes them different?
Oh my goodness, they're hugely different. So a Cypriot rescue in Cyprus, they have a lot of tourists. So the dogs that are roaming the streets, they approach people because tourists feed them, the people feed them. There are people, obviously, that farmers and things that don't want them on their land, but on a whole, the majority of people feed the dogs, and the dogs are quite people friendly. For instance, you go into a shelter in Cyprus, you can walk into a majority of those kennels with no issues. The dogs, they might be a little bit wary, like, who are you in here? But they're people friendly. Romanian rescues are very different. They are treated very differently on a whole. There's no sort of tourist people, there's not a lot of tourists in Romania, although it is a beautiful place. There's not a lot of tourists. The children are horrible to them. No, obviously, I'm saying this in general, not all of them. I'd like to say I know some amazing, amazing Romanian rescuers out there. There's people that go out and they catch the dogs, and there's kill shelters. It's brutal in Romania. So Romanian dogs are a lot more wary of people than Cypriot dogs are. Cypriots tend to get off. They're transported differently as well, which I do think makes a difference. The Cypriots they're flown, so it's trauma in a different way. It's still very traumatic being in a crate and in a large aeroplane, but it's not as long. It's cleaner. So there's different types of traumas. The Romanians do overall seem to be more traumatized and more wary of people than the Cypriot ones.
Is that just the Romanian way of the transportation? Is it due to a lack of finances travelling the way they do? Whereas the Cypriots fly them over?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know if they do direct flights for animals import wise. I know obviously from Cyprus they have flights that are just for import, so there'll be like 200 dogs and 50, 60 cats on one flight. So they have flights specifically for that, but I don't know of any from Romania that do that. I know anyone from Romania, they usually come over and then they sort of go via, France and Germany, or Germany, France, and then across on the Eurotunnel. But they don't seem to be flown ever. I mean, I'm sure there are some that are flown, but on the whole, they're not.
That would be bad enough for me as a human being traveling that way.
Yeah.
I'd be traumatized.
Yeah.
For a poor dog
Yeah.
that can't speak, can't say, no, I'm not traveling, I'm not going.
Yeah.
You can't force me.
Exactly.
They are forced into that situation.
Yeah.
It sounds bad, but then hopefully we're looking at good endings when they get here.
Yeah, it is. It's just that they don't know it at that point, do they? We can't say to them, it's going to be horrible for 4 days. You're going to have to poo and wee where you sleep.
Yeah.
But it'd be great at the end, and if we could, it would be amazing. But they have no clue. And like you said, if I was stuck on a minibus for 4 days, I would be traumatized and achy and grumpy and, snappy. So we have to sort of see it from their point of view. They've got no idea. They've just been caught, shoved in a tiny crate, and that's it. That's all they know. They don't understand. So, but it will. We have a lot of hugely successful adoptions, so a majority of them do end up well.
So we got Cypriot, we got the Romanian, and like I said, they've arrived.
Yeah.
One of the things not all of my clients, I've had this discussion late at night where people have messaged me asking for mine. I'm going, I have no idea. And the discussion a couple of times, it's been around diet. What do I give them? Because the rescue hasn't helped me. And when they kept inquiring, the rescue would say, just give them this or give them anything.
Yeah.
What should we give our rescues when they get there at midnight?
Oh gosh, when they arrive, it's God love them. They are not well. When they arrive, they're either completely stuck and nothing's coming out, or it's just all coming out. Usually for mine, when they arrived, I sort of went along the routes of, if your dog was unwell, scrambled egg, that sort of stuff, they will eat anything, unless obviously they're hugely stressed, in which case they'll eat absolutely nothing. Normally when you ask the shelters what they've been fed, they don't know, because they've just been fed whatever they've been donated. So every day could be a different food, and probably the cheapest food that they could find, because especially in Romania, they don't have a lot of funding. A lot of the Cypriot rescues, they do tend to try and have a little bit better food, but again, it just depends on the finances. Some of the rescue centres in Cyprus are government run, and I think they got, when we went in March, I think that something like €100 per dog for the first week, and that's it. That's all they get from the government. And then it is just purely donations. That's all they have. They just have to do their best. So a lot of it is free feeding. They just chuck food in and hope for the best. So yeah, when they arrive with me, I normally start with something like scrambled egg that's going to try and settle their stomach a little bit more, and then start to add in whatever food my dogs are on, usually add it in, and then start adding in the supplements and things, but not all at once because I don't want an explosive dog.
Yeah, so technically it's going to be common sense at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Yeah, start off with something you liked, and
yeah,
maybe for a few days, couple of days,
yeah. That's it. And
just
just
slowly add in whatever it is you're looking to
exactly
add.
that. Yeah.
You know, I've got to hold my hands up. I've never had a rescue.
Right.
Um, I know I'm getting older. I'm not getting any younger, and there's going to come a time where I will be looking for a rescue.
Mm.
So having your one, it's just helping also giving this, these extra little bits. Okay, so we got the diet, we have the equipment, um, we have the do's and the don'ts when they first arrive. Yeah,
Yeah.
and as you know, as we're speaking, probably there are some rescues on their way to their locate to
Yeah.
their homes, forever homes. And guess what? The week after next is Christmas.
Yeah.
What's your advice for these people?
Um, to be honest, a lot of rescue, no, well, some rescues don't do adoptions over Christmas, which is great. I love that. I love when they don't do it over Christmas. Some of these Cypriot rescues that I'm working with, they've had some dogs transported last week, and then their next one's the 12th of January. So they also skip Christmas. Um, I think for people that are going to adopt and their dog is going to arrive at Christmas, it is very much a case of, if you think that you're having all your family and everything round, change plans, because you're not. It's not happening, because there would be nothing worse for that dog than to arrive in a house, to begin to settle for a day or two, and then all of a sudden you've got strangers coming and going from the house. So similar to the building a bond thing, I normally say for the first couple of weeks, no visitors at all. No builders, nobody fixing your fence, nobody coming out to sort your sky out, nothing. Just you and that dog while you build on everything. And obviously, if you do school runs and you come and go, that's fine. No friends popping in, no family just turning up and walking in through the front door. None of it. Just cancel all of that for a little while your dog settles in, because you need them to again have that bond with you before you can get them to try and have a bond with anyone else. So yeah, cancel Christmas.
So what we're saying is we need them to habituate to their
Yeah,
circumstances.
absolutely. Can you imagine being thrown into, you've never been in a house, you've never seen a TV, and then all of a sudden there's trees indoors that you're not allowed to wee on. They've got flashy lights, they've got things that make noises, they smell funny, and then you've got people coming. It's just sensory overload.
And the fact that we've just sort of like just discussed what you just said also brings, it's not even just Christmas we're talking about. This could
No.
be any time of the year when they arrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All those things you just suggested would be exactly that,
Hmm.
because we can overload the dog that isn't traumatized
Yeah.
easily. You know how, so it's going to be really, really bad for the dog that's already traumatized.
Yeah.
People coming through. And I don't know why you said about the workman. Every time I go to visit someone with a rescue, there is a
There's
workman.
always a workman. That's why I said it. There's always someone there fixing the skybox or something. There's always someone there.
And when you go to the girl, the boy or girl that's come from Dogs Trust or somewhere else, there's never no one there.
Yeah, I don't know why, but they always come at the same time.
It's weird. So why would, I'm not saying you would, for someone that's never had a dog before,
Mm.
um, research, if there's any research they can do about rescues coming from certain parts of the world. Is there a place they can go on the
Yeah,
internet?
so myself and a couple of other DTC qualified trainers, uh,
Right.
Debbie Gross,
Mhm.
Leslie Atkinson, and Ollie, of course, we love Ollie. We started up the Rescue Dog Care Network because there is a lot of advice out there, but there's just so much advice and it's all different. None of it, some people say do this, some people say do that. There's nowhere really for there are a couple of pages like Mish Masters. She's brilliant. I mean, her page for Romanian rescues is amazing, absolutely. And I do direct people there quite often because her stuff's fantastic. But she's so overrun because there was nobody else sort of to take up the slack, or there was nobody to do it for other rescues. That was all sort of Romanian rescue based. So we do all rescues. Debbie focuses more on the UK side, and then Ollie, Leslie, and I are all sort of we've all fostered Romanians and Spanish and Bosnian rescues. We've kind of got a little mix between all of us, and we all work quite well together. So the idea of that page is just to have a community that you can come to. You can speak about whatever issues you're having, and be validated that you're not on your own. It is difficult, same as people get puppy blues or baby blues. When your rescue dog arrives, you do get the rescue blues for the first couple of weeks. You think, oh my god, have I done the right thing? Am I the right person for this dog? Is this the dog the right fit for me? It is difficult. It's very rare that a dog arrives and it's just perfect. It does happen, but it is quite rare. I'd say out of all of my fosters, we've had maybe 4 or 5 that have walked in and just been, yeah, hi, I'm here, and no issues at all. And I would say a majority of those were probably pets that went missing in the country that they've come from and then just ended up in a shelter. They weren't dogs that were living on the streets. So yeah, there are places. It's just difficult to find the right ones. So the RDCN is what we recommend now to people. People are welcome to post any questions they've got. We can give general advice. Obviously, we can't give specific advice on things online on a Facebook page, but we give general advice. And the page is so supportive. And that is the whole point of it, is to have that supportive, safe community where people can ask anything. There's no judgment. Judgment's left at the door. I think it's Kim Brophy who says that. Leave your ego at the door when you come in. And that is what we want, a safe community that everyone can sort of work together, go, actually, have you tried doing this? And we do find that when people post, we get a lot of other adopters going, oh yeah, my dog did the same. And what we tried was this, this, and this. And, it's nice for people to see that other things work, other people have been through the same, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because sometimes, especially if your dog comes over and they are very shut down, it seems like it's going to be like that forever, but it probably won't be. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Things will improve, and you will have a good relationship with time.
But there is always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And um, celebrating very small wins are very important
Yeah.
because each time there is a win means we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. How would anyone be able to get hold of you if they want to use your dog training services?
So on Facebook, it's Samantha Wayland Dog Training. Nice and easy because I wouldn't be able to remember it otherwise. My website is the same, Samantha Wayland Dog Training, and Instagram is Sam_Wayland Dog Training because somebody had stolen Samantha Wayland. How rude. And it's .com. But yeah, it's if you search my name, I will come up on a million posts, commenting and posting. I'm kind of everywhere on Facebook, so I'm quite easy to find. And yeah, I do post advice and everything on there as well, general advice on my own page as well as on RDCN. But yeah, people are more than welcome to contact me or drop me a message. My number and everything is on there, so people are welcome to WhatsApp me to get booked in or whatever. So, and I do offer remote sessions as well. So you don't. I'm based in Essex, but you don't have to be in Essex. I do remote too. So
Okay. Samantha, it's been absolutely amazing, this
it's been
chat.
really nice.
Brilliant. And thank you for sharing how people can make contact with you.
Oh, no, thank you for having me on here. It's been really, I've really enjoyed it.
I'm going to have you back, and we can delve a little bit deeper into other
Definitely.
aspects of rescues because there's just so much for a
Yeah,
dog,
there's a lot.
regardless of where it's from. So, we can give people that want to, watch the podcast, give them more info about them.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I would enjoy
So,
that.
everyone, until the next time, this is probably the last podcast between now and Christmas. So, I hope everyone has a happy Christmas and a happy New Year, and see you on the other side. Bye for now.